Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the e-commerce Lab by Ecomcy, the place where everything related to Amazon FBA, private label, and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of Ecomcy. And today we bring you a very special guest. His name is Gianmarco Meli, and he's an Amazon seller and the founder and host of the Seller Process podcast, where they teach and actually talk about everything that has to do with Amazon businesses and how you can use systems and process to scale it further. So, Gianmarco, it's a pleasure to have you here today. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, thank you, Vincenzo. It's great to be here. I'm looking forward for our conversation.
Thank you for being here. I know when it comes to scaling an Amazon business, always the number one question I bet you also get is how you can actually build a team around that and how you can actually start automating the business, because we know that Amazon it has a lot of moving parts, and for sure when you're getting started you can get by doing it yourself, but as soon as you start scaling, you need to hire the right VAs in your team, start building the team, so understanding how to delegate the processes and design SOPs. That's why I think you're the perfect person for that. Now, before we jump into that, for sure, as I do with all my guests in the show, I think it is very important for me and for the people listening this episode to learn more about Gianmarco, how you got started into the e-commerce space, and how that brought you to basically where you are right now. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, sounds good. So basically, after university, I moved to Shanghai. It was initially for a master program, and then kind of I fell in love with that. I was supposed to
Nice.
stay just 6 months, and then I ended up staying there 6 years. So I started as an intern
Okay.
in China, and then like a year after I arrived, I hired my first intern. So that was kind of
Nice.
the,
Yeah.
a
Full
cool
circle.
experience. Yeah, right. It was a good experience. So I launched a startup that was selling it in the Chinese market. I had a Chinese co-founder that was developing the app. It was basically like a grocery store for food products
Okay.
made in Europe or in the US, and we were selling in China. That company, lasted a couple of years. I did all the mistakes in the book, and I learned a lot. It was my
That's
first
the best
company.
way. The best way
Yeah,
to learn.
exactly. It was my first company at 24, so I
Yeah.
really didn't know anything
Yeah.
about doing business. So I learned a lot. It was a great experience. We got investors. We got into an accelerator program.
Nice.
So it was a very nice experience. And then that's where I started learning about Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
During my lunchtime, I was watching videos on YouTube on how to sell on Amazon. And then
Yeah.
because I knew a little bit of Chinese, and I was in
Okay.
China. I was living in Shanghai, so I started approaching factories, and very
Wow.
very shortly I launched my first product.
Okay.
And from there, basically, I'm still doing that. It's been 5 years now that I'm selling on Amazon, still with the same brand. I changed different products over time.
Okay.
But now, we're doing over seven figures.
Nice.
It's going very well, and we expanded it with this podcast, the Seller Process, where I do consulting for brands and other
Okay.
sellers, and creating like different digital products. We have SOPs, systems, hiring
Yeah.
process, and so on. So this is my story so
Wow.
far.
Amazing. Amazing journey. And congrats on what you have achieved so far, by the way. I mean, what I love about your story, and I think for sure you will agree with me that this helped you a lot, is that when you started doing your Amazon business, you were in China. And I think the reason why I think this is very important is because you were basically on the ground when everything happens in terms of the manufacturing lines. You could have that one-to-one communication that the reality is that most Amazon sellers don't have that opportunity, and I guess you learn everything inside out in terms of how to negotiate and things like that. And I bet that helped you a lot, right? And you learn a lot from that process. Yeah.
In a way, yes. I would say it's not like super critical, to be
Okay.
honest, because obviously they're like super
Yeah,
big
for sure.
sellers who never been in
Yeah, to
China
China.
in their
Yeah.
life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is totally possible without that. I would say there is a little bit of advantage in terms of communication. I
Okay.
would I would say maybe I have a little bit of better understanding of how Chinese think, and
Yeah.
so I can approach them even just as simply,
Negotiation and all
yeah,
of that. Yeah.
even as simply as writing them a few words in
Mm-hmm.
Chinese. I still speak with them in English because
Okay.
I'm not that fluent in Chinese,
Okay.
but even just approaching them a little bit with Chinese and telling them things that I know about China,
Yeah,
it
that's
kind of
very good. Mm.
builds up rapport faster, right? So
Yeah.
they kind of trust you more because I just tell them that I was living in Shanghai and we were talking about Shanghai and things like that. But so
Okay.
I would say it's more like a benefit in terms of relationship, but not like a real business benefit.
Okay, that's very good to know. Now you mentioned also something when you were giving us your journey that you reached a point that basically you need to take the decision around creating your team processes and all of that. And I would like to actually use this as an opportunity so we can start digging a little bit further into this topic, which is actually how we start around building a team. I mean, we know a lot of people talk about you need to find BS to maybe help you with a daily task, things to have to do that take a lot of time from you, and you need to actually be working on the business right in the business. And I would like to hear what is your take, and when you actually felt during your journey that was the right moment to take that step and proceed to making your own team around that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So lots of different topics that we can cover around that
Yeah.
question. So what I can I can distill it into a framework that I
Sure.
also share with people during my coaching sessions. So I basically created a framework that it's a 4-step framework to
Okay.
systemize the business. So basically, the first step is to do time tracking and task tracking. What I mean by that is to understand how do you spend your time. Okay,
Yeah.
because eventually the final result that we want to achieve is to free up your time from the
Mm-hmm.
operational tasks, from the day-to-day tasks, and focus more of your time into the strategic kind of work. Okay,
Yeah.
so because you as a CEO or a business owner, you are better off working on your business instead of in the operations
Yeah.
of the business, right? So first of all, you understand what is that you are doing, how are you spending your time, what are the things you're busy with, and then you start kind of categorizing those items,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can assign to each of them labels, like the three that we work with is I call it EDO. E stands for eliminate, D for
Okay.
delegate, and O for outsource. So
Okay.
basically, what you do is that you can find tasks that can be eliminated at all. Like if they're not, if nobody needs to do that, you should not do it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's opportunity to eliminate something, to streamline processes. Okay, many times you cannot eliminate the whole thing, but just part of it. Some steps of a process might be
Yeah.
redundant and not needed,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you eliminate that. Some you can delegate. Some you can delegate. So we'll go there in a second. And other you can optimize. Sorry, maybe before I said outsource, I meant
Yeah.
optimize.
Optimize.
So
Okay.
eliminate, delegate, optimize. So what you cannot eliminate and you cannot delegate to other people, you can
Mm-hmm.
optimize. You can make them
Make
more
it faster.
efficient,
Yeah.
faster, more efficient, or kind of partially automate those
Mm-hmm.
things, through
Tools
AI
and so
or
on.
tools, right? So then the third step is to capture systems and creating SOPs, right? So in order for the next step will be hiring and delegating. So we do that, before we can hire and delegate stuff, we need to create the systems and the procedures, right? So that's the step where we once we know what we want to delegate and what we want to optimize, then we need to create the systems and the SOPs. And then the fourth step will be to hire the VAs or help or team members, freelancers,
Mm-hmm.
and delegate those tasks that we in the previous phase we identified, right? So basically, I suggest people to go through this process as many times as possible. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, in every cycle, I usually do it like every quarter. Every quarter, you analyze your time, identify what you want to delegate, what you can optimize, what can you eliminate. And basically, every quarter, you are going to delegate a few things. You're going to optimize a few things, and you're going to eliminate a few things. After a year of running through this cycle, you will have hired maybe a few people. You will have already delegated part of the
basically a
operations.
machine. You give an input and it's done. Yeah, that's
exactly. So it's a running process. Obviously, it's something that happens over time. It's not there is not a quick solution to this. If you want to remove yourself out of the operations, you need to reiterate, go through this cycle. Okay, so that's the way, like, every big company becomes big. But in the beginning, they were just, the owner was doing everything. Even we have famous pictures of Jeff Bezos in his garage, working
doing everything.
Doing everything, right? And then they are now, like, I don't know, 20,000 people. I'm not sure how many, but
for
lots.
sure. I totally agree with you, and I think it's important we put emphasis into this, because I feel as soon as you tell somebody as an advice that they need to start outsourcing, delegating and doing systems and everything, they think it's a one-time thing. You do it once, and from 1 week to another, you are not anymore in the business. And it's not like that. It's something that you need to do one business unit at a time, and you do it slowly, because the other mistake I have seen is that sometimes people is actually able to do it over 1 month period, they delegate everything. But the issue is that when you delegate a lot of times, and I bet you agree with me, at the beginning there is the learning curve of understanding how to do the communication, perfecting those SOPs, things like that. So I totally agree. It's something that takes time, and it's not a one-time thing, and you forget about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So people should go through this process over and over, and after sometimes they will find themselves to have less in their plate. That's the goal.
Sure. Now, we also talk about delegation, right? And when we talk about delegation, this clearly means start finding people to add to your company and team, so they can help you with these extra tasks you start identifying. And a lot of people here is when they start panicking and getting confused, because they don't know what are the reliable sources of them of finding the workforce, right? Because there are so many places you can find people to join your business, right? So I would like to ask you, what is right now, would you say, your strategy around this? And if you can share some tips around how somebody can get started in terms of doing the first step and start, hiring people, what we call VAs for your business.
Yeah, for sure. So first step is, like we mentioned before, is to identify what you need to delegate, what you want to delegate. Okay, so I have a few ways to guide people on what they should delegate, because that's kind of one of the first, like, kind of problems people have. Like, where do I start? Like, what do I delegate first? Okay, so one way, so I can suggest a few ways on how to identify what to delegate first. So one of them, it's based on priority in terms of, like, how much time the task it's taking you, and the frequency of that task happening. So for example, if there are tasks that happen very frequently and they are taking you a lot of time, so you spend hours of your time several times a week. So that's one of those tasks that you should consider delegating, because it's taking a lot of your time. So it's going to be a big win if you are able to take it out of your plate, right? So one thing I could think about this is, for example, PPC management. This is something that you need to do all the time, like continuously, and it takes you hours, right? So it could be like a good thing to outsource, for example, right? To an agency or to a VA or a freelancer. Another thing can be design. People might be busy with designing lots of stuff, and that's something that you should take out off of your plate immediately, unless you're a designer. If that's your main thing,
like it.
Exactly. If that's your main thing, maybe you should then outsource, selling on Amazon, like doing the other things,
the operations.
Or if you're like a math genius and you really love reports and spreadsheets, you do PPC by yourself, but then you outsource the other thing. So you need to kind of make a balance of this decision also with like what you're good at. Okay. And that's another way that to identify what to delegate. Like ask yourself what you're not good at, what you do not enjoy doing. Those could be some of the first things that you can outsource. And then, like for example, another way to understand that is to delegating first the low value tasks. So everything that wherever you find yourself not adding so much value to it, so let's just delegate that. Like for example, creating shipping plans, or uploading the pictures, or copy pasting,
Yeah.
the text in the bullet points,
Yeah.
whatever, all these like very simple things that anybody can do it. You should not be doing those kind of things. Just delegate that to a VA. Okay. So
Okay.
that's how to identify what to delegate. Then how we start to find these people. There are several websites, there are several ways to do it. Usually what people do is to just focus on one source.
Okay.
But many times they don't understand that hiring, it's a numbers game. So
Yeah.
you want to have as many applications as possible. You want to get as many people as possible. You want to evaluate as many as
Yeah.
possible, so
To
that
have a
you
point
can
of comparison, basically. Yeah.
exactly, you can compare many, and
Mm-hmm.
then you can pick you can be very, very picky. Okay. So you must force yourself to be very picky. If you only have one or two options, it's just a
Yeah.
dilemma.
It's
Should
a
I choose
gamble.
this
It's a
guy or
gamble. Yeah.
exactly, right? But instead, if you have 100 applications, then okay, you can be
Yeah.
super picky. You say, okay, this guy has this little thing,
Yeah.
just
Okay.
drop it off, right? So that's where it comes useful, using a system instead of like the manual way. So I call it what people do right now, I call it the old manual way. So they
Yeah.
just do everything manually through these
Mm-hmm.
websites, and just gather information by emails and things like that. But a system, like a proper database with a structure that collects data of these applicants, it's something that steps up your hiring game a lot, and it will basically improve everything
Okay.
to identify the right people.
Yeah.
So just to give you just to be more like practical and give you like a few names, where I look for VAs is
Okay.
onlinejobs.ph.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the main ones. And then like Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups. There are
Mm-hmm.
lots of, if you just search virtual assistant or social media manager, whatever,
Yeah.
designers, whatever you're looking for,
Or you can
there
just
are
make
like
a post like I need a beer and you're gonna get hundreds of requests.
also, yeah.
Yeah.
Depends what kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
profiles you're looking for.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are lots of also groups as well on Facebook, LinkedIn. There is Indeed. There is a free app,
Mm-hmm.
and Upwork as well. So what
Okay.
I do is to basically post my job posting in all these
Mm.
places. And actually, I went a step further. So I trained a VA with my hiring process, and now my
Mm.
VA, it's helping me
Interesting.
hiring VAs.
I see.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of a little step
The next
further.
level.
But yeah, but because this is still something that it requires a lot of time, and
Yeah.
it's a key component of every business. Hiring, it's something that even big companies, sometimes the CEO still is the one involved in the final decision, even in very, very large companies,
Yeah.
because they understand that hiring somebody, it's key,
It's
because
important.
it's especially in the beginning,
Yeah.
when it's just you and somebody else,
Okay.
it's gonna be critical.
Okay. And this one, just to give also some clarity, you mentioned that usually you advise to kind of design a system around integrating all this information, and from there, I guess having a betting system to then reach, I guess, the final phase where you have maybe 5, 10 applicants, and that's where most likely you jump in and have calls with them, I guess, right?
Yeah, so everything is based on a skill test. I mean,
Okay,
the main thing that will allow you to identify the right candidate is a skill test.
I
So
see.
basically, what we do is that we have a system that
Hmm.
basically pulls the information from a form
Okay.
of so the applicants basically fill out a form, and then
Hmm.
so we receive in our database all
The
the
form.
information of these people very nicely put there, so it's easy to compare everybody.
Hmm.
So then out of these applications, we select the best profiles and we send them a skill test. Everything is done automatically with just a button click. The
Nice.
people receive in mass, like
The steps.
dozens of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
dozens of people receive in one click all these skill tests. And basically the skill test, it's just a test, right? So like it's a document that with questions that the applicant will need to answer, and those will typically be the like a sample of the job that they will be doing if they will
I
be
see.
hired, right? So for
Okay.
example, if you're looking for a designer, you ask them, please make an Instagram picture
Pose.
for
Yeah.
this thing with this requirements and so on, and create a product image with this requirement and so on. Okay, so then that's the critical piece people are missing.
The
Most
testing.
people, they just, yeah, exactly, they don't do any testing, so they don't know how that person is going to be, right? So they don't know
Hmm.
if they're skilled or not. Most of people who are looking for jobs, they're very skilled at doing the interviews, or
Hmm.
showing you in CVs that they are wonderful people, but in the end,
By it's just a
many
bluff.
times it's a bluff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh,
So this is going to tell you a lot. Yeah, really, this is critical. Once you see the skill test, the results of the skill test, you already know like 90% that that person, it's a good fit or not. So this is
yeah.
critical.
And I guess that's where your other VA comes in and have a criteria of what is the score they need to have, or the quality. So then they go into the next phase, right?
Exactly. So for each phase there is a score. So
I
there is
see. Okay.
the pre-screening. They just look at the CV and judge, if that person has the right background.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So and give a score. Then these people receive the skill test, and then we give a score to the skill test.
Interesting.
Then the best people who give us the best skill test and also with the best background, it's a balance of that, right? They go to the interview phase, and during the interview we have like all the questions that we ask them, and then again we give a score to these people based on how they answered these questions. And another key point of interviews is that, first of all, so there are 2 points that most people don't do. So first of all, we do text-based interviews. So our
Okay.
interviews are on WhatsApp or WeChat.
Um,
Okay, so it's
okay.
text-based, because
Okay.
that's the reason we do that, is because first of all, the answers stays there, and we
Mm-hmm.
can look at them multiple times after that.
Yeah.
And also, this way we can really ask exactly the same questions all the time with different people, so we can really compare what person A
Mm,
replied, what
how
person
they
B
articulate
replied.
the answers and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, so this we found that this is much better also because another reason why we do that is that it takes out the possible bias we could have by seeing the person.
Yeah, sometimes happen
um
just because it's friendly or you have something that
exactly.
connect, and it doesn't
Exactly.
relate to the actual task itself. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
sometimes you might prefer somebody who's smiley and
Yeah.
friendly
Yeah.
and happy,
But doesn't do the job.
doesn't do the job, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe many times the more shy people who are not,
Yeah.
maybe
The
maybe they
best.
don't have like the best English, so you
Yeah.
will kind of judge them badly. but maybe they're perfect because they just need to do copy paste stuff, and they don't
And
need to
sometimes
speak
people is
English.
introvert. They don't really like to talk, but
Exactly.
they know what they're doing. So
They're
yeah,
not good with the camera,
yeah,
they just are shy. They
yeah.
So we found that text-based interviews are the best. And the second point I was saying, which I actually already mentioned, is the keeping the questions the same. So this is another thing. Usually people interview different candidates and they ask
Mm-hmm.
different questions,
Yeah.
but and then how can they compare them? Look, so they kind of finish the last interview and they say, oh damn, I don't know, I mean, I asked different questions to different people, so now you cannot compare them, so you just wasted time interviewing people.
For sure.
So yeah.
And I think another thing that I feel is very important, and maybe you can give us a little bit of insight so we can start concluding today's episode, is around the fact that when you go about hiring, what is your point of view on the fact that I guess you should have some basic understanding of the actual task you want to outsource? Because sometimes I also see the mistake that somebody wants to outsource something because they don't have a clue about how to do it. But then how you can actually judge if you're hiring the right people if you don't know how the task is done? So what is your point of view on that and how you get around that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah.
And so I would say, to begin with, it's going to be already challenging enough to start delegating and hiring. So you should not start with delegating something that you don't know what it is.
Mm.
Right? So
Yeah.
in your career as an entrepreneur, your first hires should be based on things that you know really well. Okay, so
Okay.
you just transfer your knowledge to this person.
To buy
You
time,
trans
basically. Yeah.
Exactly. So you get more time so that you, as the entrepreneur, the business owner, can do the higher level stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So start with that. After you learn and master the process of hiring, because that's very hard, and also the process of delegating, the process of motivating people and keeping them happy inside the company. After you master all that, then you can start going like a next level and start hiring like professional who will take over parts of the business which you don't know anything about. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's going to be, I would say, that's a second step. And how you do it that way, it's basically asking them to create for you the processes. Okay,
Okay.
so when you onboard these people, you need to, some of the first task will be to create the planning, create the action plan, and give you, what will be, tell you what will be the metrics that will follow, the KPIs and so on.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a second step, definitely possible, and at some point everybody needs to do that, but I would suggest to start with what you're familiar with, and transfer that to your
Right.
first hires.
That's great. Yeah, I totally get. I wanted to point this out because I know sometimes people think that you should start delegating also things that you don't know. And I see that mistake so many times. People just hire because they want to have the illusion that they're actually going to solve the problem by just bringing somebody. But then you don't, if you know how to actually do it, most of the time you're going to hire the wrong person. Then it becomes worse and worse and worse. So I think
It's
it's
true.
important. Yeah.
It's true. Also, just to conclude that, as an entrepreneur, I think you need to be like a generalist.
Mm,
So you need to learn as you go with your new hire, right? So if you
yeah.
don't know about that topic, you
At least
must
the
know about
basics.
it.
The
You
basics, at
must know the
least.
basics, right?
Yeah.
So you need to train yourself, and then so that you can at least have a conversation
With the person.
with that person. Yeah.
That's awesome, Gianmarco. So yeah, I think we discussed a lot of useful insights. I'm pretty sure that this year in 2023, when people are looking to scale and making a team, this episode is going to be very helpful for them. So thank you for that. And I'm sure we're going to do many more episodes in the future. I mean, this is a topic that we can make so many episodes. They have so many ramifications, but it's great to have this first iteration. Before we conclude today's episode, for sure, I want to give you a couple of minutes. So, you can give us a little bit of information around how people can get in touch with you, and also get information around the seller process, which actually help you with everything we've been talking so far. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you for that. So, you can simply find find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. If you would like to add me on LinkedIn, Gianmarco Meli, you'll find it how it is spelled somewhere in here, and then you can find the podcast at thesellerprocess.com. You can see we have episodes going out every week, and you will see a mentoring session in the website where I help people systemizing their business and creating SOPs and helping them scale. So if you're interested in getting my help, I do one-to-one coaching
Awesome.
with sellers and brands. And yeah, if
Very
you're
nice.
interested in the hiring system, you can find it in thesellerprocess.com/hiring system, and you will see the database, the system, the automated system that I just
Okay.
talked about. You guys can get it and try it if you're
Awesome.
interested.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure to put the link down in the description so people can find it. So thank you very much, Gianmarco. It's been a pleasure. Looking forward to have you in the next episode. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincenzo.
Bye bye. See ya.